If I described a dish as buttery, golden brown, rich, flavorful, and real easy to make, you'd say, I'd like to make that dish. Well, I'm going to teach you how. Welcome to All Things Food with John Woods. I love to cook, but I cook to love. So let's talk food. One of the fun things about doing this series of videos is I've been able to have a lot of my really close friends into the kitchen just to talk food. And I have a good friend, Dan Lehman, here. Dan, we're usually out on the golf course or fishing. out on the lake fishing, and I'm usually beating you at both of them.
Exactly that.
And we've been friends many years. And over those years, you often call me when you're out on the grill or at the stove to ask me questions.
I do, frequently. Called him the other day about ribs.
So I'm kind of like on speed dial, I guess. Mm-hmm. And have I ever charged you for any of the advice that I've given to you?
Nope.
Okay, good. I'm keeping note. So
I've given him putting lessons.
Yeah, okay, and dancing lessons. So, if we had to describe your culinary abilities on a scale of say 1 to 5, 5 being like an Emerald Lagasse, and 1 being like someone that just buys food at Walmart, where would you fall on that scale?
I'm approaching a 1.
Approaching a 1. so you're climbing up the ladder.
I'm getting up to 1.
So I could honestly say you have no real culinary skills. Well, in the intro to this video, I said this is not only a great dish, it's an easy dish. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to use a recipe, Dan. I'm going to just lay the ingredients out in front of you here. And this dish is called Catfish Allison. I'll tell you how I found out about it. Years ago, a friend wanted me to do his son's wedding. And he said, there's a dish called Catfish Allison that I want you to cook. And I had remembered years ago reading that recipe in this book. This is the catfish, a classic catfish from the Crown Antique Mall. And it is a classic catfish recipe book. And so we're going to use that recipe today, but we're not going to look at it, okay?
Okay.
We have all the ingredients here. I want to show you how simple it is. We're going to start with pond-raised catfish. And
now, one question. When you do fish, I remember one thing you always told me is dry them off or make sure they're dry before you put them into anything.
Depending on what I'm cooking. If I'm frying it in a skillet or whatever, I do that. But
this we don't need to.
We don't need to.
Okay.
We won't need to with this here. So all we're going to do is have all these ingredients, and they're all going to go into this bowl right here.
Okay.
So you've got to think, well, do I put a lot of this in or a little of it or the same? So just kind of balance the ingredients with the way you think that they should operate, okay?
Okay.
Here you go.
So what are we starting off with?
Parmesan cheese. Grated Parmesan cheese, not just for spaghetti.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spoonfuls of that.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine because that should be enough to cover that.
Okay. Now, some mayonnaise and butter. Should we put the butter in first? Is there a sequence?
When I cook, I'm going to give you a little lesson.
Yes, sir.
It's called mise en place. And that's a French term, means everything in its place.
Okay.
So whenever I cook a recipe of any kind, I take all my ingredients and I line them up in the order that I'm going to use them.
Okay.
And I never have to look at a recipe for any reason.
So you've already lined this up?
I've lined it all up. So and I've even measured that one out for you. So I made life simple for you.
Now, do I stir this before I put the mayonnaise?
No, you don't have to. You can if you want to. You don't have to.
Just kind of mix that in there a little bit.
And it's softened butter. So I'd go ahead and put the mayonnaise in and make it a little easier for you.
Okay.
And we'll just kind of, again, it's all by feel. So.
Is there a preference to the mayonnaise? Do you see?
Whatever your preference is. Everyone has their own mayonnaise they like. So just stir that together and see what it's looking like. We want it to be pasty. Okay, yeah, it's nice and pasty. Okay. And let me move the mayonnaise out of the way so we don't have a mess here. And we have 3 more ingredients, and this is where it gets a little tricky because these are powerful ingredients. And let me tell you a little secret too. Never pour over the dish you're cooking. So, in other words, we don't want to take this bottle and pour and have all of it go in. Okay. So I would just, here's a container right there. You just use that and pour in what you think you want to use, and then we can add it.
Okay. So
that looks good to me. That looks good.
Maybe something?
Yeah, about that. And that's going to give it a nice rich color. Okay, then a little Tabasco. You know, I like Tabasco for this dish. You can
Now,
use
would that go in there, or is this a spritz?
spritz it, yeah, because it's pretty controlled there. This don't be too excited with that. We can always add more if we want to.
Should I stir that in, or should I add
go ahead
the,
and throw the onions in. And these are chopped green onions. And Dan, how difficult was that?
So far, so good.
Okay.
No one got hurt.
It looks good, Dan. Yeah, get it all mixed up really good. 2 spoons. What are they for?
Left and right hand.
Well, only you would think of that. So it's for tasting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A good chef always tastes his food before he serves it to you.
Okay.
So let me taste first, because I want to protect you. And at this point, we have a decision to make. If we want to add more heat to it, we can put a little more hot sauce in it, or if we want a little more spice to it, put the Worcestershire sauce in it. So we're going to take just a pan, any kind of baking pan, spray the bottom. Whether or not that's necessary, I don't know, because that has so much oil in it. Okay, so we're going to put the fillets in there. I'll do that. So I can go wash my hands here in a minute. And then we're going to take your mixture there, and all we're going to do is top these fillets with that mixture, nice and even. Just take your spatula and get a nice, even coating on there. You're going to slide around on you, so you may have to blob some on there and then come back and hold the fillet. You're going to be impressed.
I love the sauce. The sauces are amazing.
I can't take any credit for it. I stole the recipe, so.
That's how you learned how to putt. You stole the idea from me.
And then you're going to take it over there and put it in that oven, and we're going to bake this at about 375 degrees for, just give it about 12 to 15 minutes. And you know, everyone's oven's different. Your oven's different from mine, and they may not be calibrated exactly the same, so it's something we just have to monitor. So
we're going to know how to make sure you pick the temperature that you know is a good temperature for
yeah,
fish.
that's what I would normally.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dan, usually when we put seasoning or salt or pepper on the dish, just hold it up a little higher so it doesn't all clump down into one place. Just kind of, there you go. See how it spreads it out? And that's good. Okay. So rather than when it's down here, it all clumps into one spot.
Okay.
Up here, it kind of spreads. So go ahead and put it in the oven and let's see what happens.
375, 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, let's say 12. We'll compromise.
Woo.
Dan, I'm going to pull your first catfish dish out of the oven, and man, is it hot, and don't you smell those flavors?
It smells wonderful.
And remember I told you in the beginning of the video, it is golden brown, is it?
Oh, beautifully.
Rich, you smell those flavors? In a minute we're going to know that it's very delicious. And tell me, how complicated was it?
Very simple.
Easy.
I hope it tastes as good as it smells.
Tell you, I don't think you can get any prettier than that right there. And you're going to be amazed. We're going to put some of these, let's put one of these fillets right up here. And let me grab a spoon and put a little bit of that delicious looking sauce on it.
One question. So how long from the time you pull it out will it sit? If you were going to serve this for dinner guests, you should serve it right away?
I would serve it, you know, fairly quickly, actually. Unless you want to hold it. And then see, I'm just spreading that good rich sauce on top of that. And let's just garnish it with a little lemon there. And if we wanted to, we could sprinkle a little parsley on it. I'm not real big about garnishing with parsley, but some people are. And that looks pretty darn good.
Wow.
And of course, the moment of truth, you won't believe it. Wow. Well, I just want to thank you for coming today, and I want to thank Evelyn and Tony Roughton for this recipe. This book was actually given to me years ago by one of my dear friends, Richard Hyde, who was very instrumental in the catfish business in the state of Mississippi. And he got me this autographed book, and it's been a real treasure of mine for many years. And again, that's a tremendous catfish dish.
That is fantastic. I'm going to have another bite. One
thing I forgot to tell you about this wonderful dish, Catfish Allison, It's 100% gluten-free. Thank you for joining me on All Things Food. I'm John Woods. I love to cook, but I cook to love. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll see you the next time right here on 50 Ways to Love a Catfish.